Hello and welcome to this session, and in this session we shall continue our understanding of the important software terminologies. Well, in this session these are the terminologies about which we have to gain insights into. What really do we mean by build? What really do we mean by deployment, and what is the meaning of the term release is what we will have to understand in this session. So let me proceed and explain to you as to what all of this means. You have already understood that coders during the coding phase would have created the source code, but then the source code by itself may not be sufficient to be executed. Well, what I mean to say is that the build is also equally important. So what really is build? Well, let me tell you that in software development, build happens to be a process of taking all the source code that is created by the coders and then along with that take other resources and components of a project and turn it into something that a computer can actually run and execute. Think of it like putting together a puzzle where each piece of code is compiled and then the compiled code is linked and then packaged into a working program. Well, build is something that you shall be getting complete clarity about moving forward in this video series when we are going to be discussing certain actual projects. But then at this point in time, what I really wanted you to understand is that build no doubt shall make use of the source code that has been created by the coders, but along with the source code, it shall bring in extra resources and components and package it into such a format that the computer can actually execute it. So, is build such an important process? Well, let me break it down and tell you that firstly, build is something that enables us to compile our source code and transform our source code into the machine code. Well, what I mean to say is that the source code that would have been coded by the coders would be in the high-level language format. Well, the coders would have made use of high-level programming languages such as C, C++, Java, Python, or any of these high-level languages to prepare the source code. But then this high-level language source code cannot be understood by the computers. After all, computers understand only the language of zeros and ones, meaning that the computers understand only the binary code, which we also call as the machine code. And let me tell you that build is the process during which the high-level source code that would have been created by the coders would be getting transformed into the machine-readable binary code. This makes sure that the code is not only correct, but is also ready for the computers to read, understand, and execute it. Well, that way, the build process is more like getting the right ingredients for a recipe. You know that if you'll really have to cook a recipe, you cannot be making that recipe out of a single ingredient. That way, the most important ingredient in this recipe of the build shall be the source code which would have got transformed into the machine code, but then only the machine code that has been obtained in this build process would not be sufficient for the program to be complete by itself. Definitely, we need to be linking our machine code with the external libraries, the other resources and the components so that all of this can be packaged together and can be presented to the computer as a complete program. Well, it is only then that all the components would be working together and ensure that the software product is ready. So all said and done, not only during the build process do we ensure that the high level code is transformed to the machine level code, we also ensure that that machine level code is linked with the external libraries, the other components and resources, and transforming it into such a package that the computer can successfully execute and produce us with the required results. Now that you have been able to understand as to what really build is, it's time to understand what deployment is. Well, in the world of software development, deployment is the final step that makes an app or a software product available for real world use. It is that phase where the built software is uploaded and set up in the production environment. Well, if all of that is confusing, let me put it across this way to you. You know that the outcome of the build process was that tasty dish that you had prepared by mixing one main ingredient with all other required ingredients. But then if you really want to market that dish, then you will obviously have to put it up at a marketplace. Only if you are going to be putting up that dish at a marketplace that the users can actually purchase it and use it. Well, if really it is the dish that you have prepared, then the marketplace could be something like a Zomato. But then here we are not talking about the dish, rather we are talking about software applications. So if it's really the software app or the software product that you have prepared, and if you have the intention of presenting it to the real world for use, then it is your responsibility to ensure that you will put up your software app or the software product on the cloud server. Well, it is these cloud servers that we also refer to as the target environments. Let me give you an example. Say supposing you have built an Android app, and now that you have built it, you also wish to market it. Well, if really that is the case, then you will have to be putting up that Android app on the Play Store. Well, Play Store happens to be such a marketplace from where the users can download your app and can be using the app. So that way, Play Store is a kind of a target environment which we can also refer to as the cloud server. Or just in case you have built an iOS app, and if you have the intention of marketing it, then obviously if that iOS app is present in your own computer, then there is no way that the outside world would ever know about the kind of iOS app that you would have built. In other words, what I mean to say is that if you really want to showcase your iOS app to the outside world, then your responsibility is to deploy that iOS app onto the respective cloud server, and in this case the cloud server shall be the Apple Store. Well, all said and done, I am sure now you have been able to understand that while build happens to be the process of preparing the dish, deployment happens to be the process of placing this dish onto the marketplace so that the real world users can benefit from out of it. Hope I am completely clear with this. Well, that way, one of the major benefits associated with deployment is that the users from different locations from across the globe shall be able to get access to your software product. Another important aspect is the backup and recovery. Well, it is important for you to know that during deployment, systems are put in place to ensure that the data is safe, and just in case there is any failure, then the recovery process shall immediately kickstart, minimizing the downtime and protecting loss of any important information. So once deployed, the software is officially live. It means that now the end users can access it, whether it's on a mobile app or a website or a complex software system. Basically, deployment ensures that the software product is up and live for usage. Now that you have understood that the process of build is more like preparing that tasty dish, the process of deployment is more like making available this tasty dish on a marketplace so that the potential buyers would be able to buy and use it, then what really does the release mean? Well, release is all about informing the potential buyers about the availability of such a dish on a marketplace so that the potential buyers can purchase and consume the dish. That way, the release is more like a grand reveal. It is all about letting everyone know as to what is the kind of the software app or the software product that has been deployed on the cloud servers. It provides a perfect opportunity for marketing. It refers to that phase of promoting the software product and explaining to all the potential users as to what is the value addition that the software product can bring into their professional and personal lives. Now that you have understood the broad definitions of what really build is, what really deployment is, and what release is, let me give you an analogy to further simplify these technical terms for you. Let me equate the process of building the software with respect to making the movie. Well, I know that the software development life cycle is different from the movie preparation life cycle, but still I am just using this movie analogy to make things easy for you. Now, in as far as the movie is concerned, what does the build stage represent? Well, in as far as the movie is concerned, build stage is more like shooting the various scenes of the movie. Well, shooting alone would not be sufficient. You know that the scenes that have been shot needs to be edited and they all need to be compiled and made as one continuous movie. But then you know that only the short scenes would not be sufficient. We would also require external components added to these scenes, such as the background music, the sound effects, and the video effects, along with all the animations. Only then the complete package of the movie is ready. In fact, that is what we call as the finished movie. Well, this is more like the build phase in the software development, wherein the source code that would have been created by the coders would be transformed into the machine code, and then it would be attached with all the external libraries, the external resources, and the components, and made into a finished software product. Hope I'm clear with this analogy. But then, what really does deployment mean in the movie context? Well, getting back to the movie context, you know that the movie is definitely ready, but then is not yet available for the audiences to watch it. Well, why is it not available for the audience to watch it? The point is that you have prepared a movie is not known to the audience at all. You will have to be informing to the audience, but then it is at a later stage. After the movie is ready, it is your responsibility to ensure that that movie is actually sent to the theater or is sent to the OTT platforms. What I am saying here as sent is nothing but deployment. As the maker of the movie, it is your responsibility to deploy your movie either on theater screens or on the OTT platforms. Well, this is what we refer to as the deployment phase. In other words, equating this with the software analogy, what I would wish to say is that the software product that you have prepared is actually present on your local computer. But then if you will want to market your software product, then it is your responsibility to place it on the marketplace, or what we technically call as the cloud server, which is what is the deployment. Hope I am clear with this analogy as well. And then continuing further with the same analogy of the movie, what does the release really mean? Well, you know that the release of the movie is like making the movie available for public consumption. You would be marketing the movie and telling all of the audiences about what really the movie contains, so that the audience can go to the theater and experience the release. Well, on the similar lines, that once your software product has been placed on the cloud servers, that you start the marketing activities of informing the potential customers about the kind of software product that you have placed, so that the customers or the end users can download and use that software for their respective benefits. All said and done, I'm sure with this analogy, you have been able to understand the broad definitions of what really the build is, what really deployment is, and what release is. So, in this session, I'm sure you have been able to understand the technical meanings of these three important terms. Well, that way, this table is a table that is summarizing all of whatever you have learned in this session. But then let me tell you that in this video series, there are a lot of such terms and aspects related to software development that you need to master. Only upon understanding and assimilating all of these important terminologies and the concepts associated with software development, that you shall be able to shape yourself as a successful software developer. Well, all that you really need to do to be transforming yourself into a successful software developer is to continue watching this video series. Hope this session was informative. Continue watching the table and let me meet you in the next session again. Thanks for watching.